Right. Can you guys? All right. Ready. All right. Yo, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the show. In today's episode, in today's Express episode, I'll be talking about by fighting, you never get enough. By yielding, you get more than you expected. And since today's the Express episode, this is an episode that I've done before. I've just taken some of the highlighted points. Also, I've added a few things in there myself. And it's only going to be 30 minutes. So, if you're here on a Sunday, depending on where you're at and what time it is, hang out, listen, maybe learn something. And if you do find this video content of value, you guys could show your appreciation. But down below on the description box, there's a Patreon. You guys could subscribe to that. But anyways, I'm going to be talking about a recap episode, which is on freedom is vital to love and attraction. So freedom, the number one most important thing to most people, to anybody, it's freedom, especially in a relationship. So the slide is on what is freedom. Okay, freedom is allowing them to come and go as they please, while most importantly, while setting and enforcing healthy boundaries. Well, what do you mean by that, Mitchell? What do you mean by setting and enforcing healthy boundaries and allowing them to come and go as they please? Well, it means that if you are in a relationship, or maybe you're trying to pursue someone, maybe you find this lady very attractive and you want to get to know her a little bit more, and maybe you even want her to be your girlfriend. Well, you got to allow her to come to you, allowing her to come and go as she pleases. But you also set and enforce healthy boundaries, meaning that if there are certain things that violate you, well, guess what? You're not going to tolerate that. You're going to let her know. You'd be like, hey, we set up this time. What's up, Crystal? It's like, well, we set up this time and you canceled. It's like, well, you let me know. So then basically you throw the ball back in her court. So then after that, if anything were to happen, she has to contact you. So those are examples, right? Now, there's also other things as well in a relationship where you have to set and enforce healthy boundaries. It's like, well, there's certain things I don't tolerate in a relationship. There's like infidelity and things like that. Like, well, I'm not going to tolerate that. So, it's important to talk about it. Probably not something that you want to talk about on the first date, but then you also want to understand, like, well, what are some things that turns you off? Maybe at the very least, it's like, then you could pick their brain. So ask quality questions. Now, so setting and enforcing healthy boundaries. Freedom is your compelling reason. Okay, and this is an example. Your freedom is your compelling reason not to message her, not to send that text, to find out where she's at. Because why? Because most of the time, it's usually at the expense of your own insecurities. Maybe you're jealous or you're anxious. What's up, Pam? Just found your channel. Hello, Pam. What's up, Aaron? What's up, Life? Yeah, picking brains. Hey, that's a good line, actually. Hey, I just want to be a zombie right now. What you mean? I just want to pick your brain. All right. So anyways, back to this. At the expense of your own insecurity and your jealousy, your anxiousness, right? So it's like, well, if you want to send her a text, then there are certain ways and certain things that you should do, and there's certain rules that you should kind of follow by. It's not set in stone, but it's like, well, guess what? You just want to make sure that you're not coming out way too anxious. And a lot of people that are usually that's feeling anxious or having a lot of anxiety, if you understand what anxiety is really just it's focusing too much in the future or focusing too much in the past, and then what's causing your future, which is why most people, when that does happen, it's like, well, okay, how do you take anxiety away? Well, by being present, by focusing on the now, what's happening now. That usually solves a lot of problems. Okay, so now, what's up, Bree? So instead of most people now, what's up, Tracy? Just saying hi. All right, what's up, Tracy? So instead of having a good relationship with your jealousy now, it's like, well, how do you overcome it? It's like a lot of people get jealous all the time. Jealousy is a thing. It happens to the best of us. It's how you handle that type of jealousy. It's how you respond to it. Most people react, and usually that reaction, it blows up. People get agitated. There's yelling, there's screaming. Sometimes it could get a little violent. Like those are not good, right? Put your energy into positive things. Yeah, stop worrying about things you have no control over. Absolutely. So how do I get to have a better relationship with jealousy? Because everyone gets a little bit jealous sometimes, and it really depends. Well, do you decide to change? You have to make a significant change within yourself. How? By trusting other people, by trusting them. And if they break that trust, right? And also, it's like this. Well, if you're in a relationship, 110%, you want to trust that person 110%, if not more. Okay, you have to trust, but you got to verify. You want to make sure that they are saying that what they say they are. At the very least, just trust them. Because why? What would you feel comfortable sleeping next to the person, thinking that, hey, are they doing something fishy? It's like, that's not a relationship. It's really about yourself and your own insecurities. It's like, if they are doing something, well, guess what? Then you trust and you love yourself and you value yourself enough to walk away from that relationship, so that it doesn't, if it doesn't really bring you any type of happiness in that sense, why would you stay in that type of relationship? So you trust yourself enough to walk away if that trust is being violated, if that trust is being broken, right? So having a sense of self-worth. So what change is about close to 10 years ago, what changed was the fact that I believed in myself. And I knew that there's a lot of things that I didn't know, but then I started believing in myself, and I was like, wow, like I could get better at this. I could improve. And then on top of that, I became better. So in relationships, I became better in relationships. I learned how to communicate. I learned how to listen. I learned to hold back my tongue, especially when she wants to tell me something. Now, it's important. Now, do I still make mistakes? Absolutely. I still make mistakes, right? I'm only human, but I try to not make the same mistakes twice. There's always one person who has control, the one who isn't as invested. It is true, but it's also, and I would say that's a byproduct of being less invested, so that you're okay walking away from it. And so that's why you might think like, oh, that's more in control. And to some extent, yeah, that's very true. Let's see, having a sense of self-worth. Okay, so jealousy, let's talk about jealousy. So jealousy isn't how we react to what the other person does. It's how we feel about ourselves. That's ultimately how we feel about ourselves. That changes how we react about what the person does. So it's really about ourselves. Those jealousy, those insecurities that you have, it's really about yourself. It's really about yourself. Now, giving freedom also displays a lot of strength and trust. It's like, hey, you know how happy most guys would be if you just told your man, you'd be like, hey, just go out, have fun with your friends, come back. I just want to make sure you're safe. It's like, most guys would not want to lose a good woman like that. And especially if you make his life easy. I always talk about how if you're in a relationship, you want someone that's easygoing and easy to get along with. That's something that my coach has taught me. That's embedded in me. It's like, you want someone that's easygoing and easy to get along with. You don't want someone that makes your life more difficult. It's not going to be fun if she's constantly or he's constantly nagging at you. It's like, no one wants to come home to that. How to start a business, talking about relationship, who even wants girls. I'm not sure what that means, but hey, there's a business for everything. All right, Malik. All right, so it allows her, now by giving her that freedom, not only does it display strength, it allows her to choose you instead. And if she's choosing you, she's not getting rid of you. She's not getting rid of you. Okay. Now, my thing is, what you want to do is you want to be her most irresistible option. It's easier said than done, but if you constantly work on yourself physically, mentally, you're fun, you're easygoing, you're fun to be around with, she's gonna associate those feelings towards you, especially when she's around you. Oh my God, this person's so fun. I want to be around her all the time, right? Like, it's like, especially if you make her feel good about herself and you're upfront and you let her know you're interested in her, just by letting her know, you're going to be the most irresistible option. And by becoming your best, most attractive self. And if she can't see that, or if he can't see that, somebody else will. And that is what true confidence is. It's knowing that, hey, you know what? Things happen. People might not see my value. And if they don't, then it's okay. I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm only upset because I don't think I'm really of value. It's like, how come you don't see my value? Like, can't you see I'm right here? It's like, well, what do you really... People that is of value, they're not going to say that. They'd be like, I understand. You know what? I hope you have a great day. Have a good rest of your life, basically. It's like, and you walk away, you never look back. And that is the best negotiating position. That's the best. And then, but also you let her know. You'd be like, hey, you know what? If you ever decide to change your mind, you have my number. You know who to call. All right, have a great day. That's it. Leave it at that. Now, it shows you're emotionally regulated. You're strong-minded. You're certain. Those are all very attractive traits. It means you're confident. With age comes wisdom. Damn, I'm like slurring with my words. Yeah, with age comes wisdom. Yeah, absolutely. Not always true, but you have a better chance. So you're strong-minded. You're certain. You're not busy thinking about her all day, especially if you're a guy. What's up, Corbin? What's going on, man? If you're not thinking about her all day and you're focused on your mission and your purpose of what you want to do, well, guess what? You're going to be attractive to a lot of other people, not just your girl. You're going to be just attractive in general. Now, does it mean that you go out and then you do things like infidelity that will betray her trust? Absolutely not. At least that's not what I teach, okay? What I teach people is, if you're in a relationship and you're in a loving relationship, well, guess what? You're going to be the most attractive self. It doesn't matter. People are going to come to you. Oh, well, guess what? You have a responsibility too. You're going to be like, hey, you know what? Guess what? I have a girl. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. But I have a girlfriend. That's it. And you back away and you walk away. And that's it. That's all you can do. And that's all you should do. Okay? And that's someone with high standards for themselves. Good morals. Good values. Okay? Now, let's talk about strength versus weaknesses, right? About the meat at the topic. By fighting, you never get enough. By yielding, you get more than you expected. So the strength versus weaknesses. People tend to fight instead of yielding, leading to unnecessary conflicts and stress. And that's usually what happens. Why? Men who understand women don't argue with them. I've never argued. I might have a disagreement. I might be upset, but I'm not going to argue with you, because behind anger is always fear. And if I'm yelling and screaming, I'm fearful of something. And it's my job to figure that out once I start yelling and screaming. I could be upset. I could be disappointed. I could be unhappy about the situation, but it's about how well I can fix it. Because at the end of the day, it's my job to find a solution. It's always my job, because no one's going to come in and fix my issues but myself. So if I'm always reliant on somebody else to try to fix something, not only am I less competent, I'm less confident. And what's the number one most attractive thing to women? Confidence. So be confident in what you do. Pretty simple, right? It's a pretty simple formula. So a strength is going after what you want, right? Strength versus weaknesses. A strength is going after what you want. So now, if you're trying to prove a point, be careful not to become too hasty about it, because haste makes waste. That's what my coach says. This goes for relationships. If you're trying to convince someone your own opinion, you're not going to force an opinion onto somebody, especially if that's something that they already made their mind up to. It's like, if someone doesn't want to work out, you can ask them questions, be like, hey, why don't you work out? Oh, I don't got time. Oh, what are you doing with your time? There's people that do certain things. Ask questions. That's how you can figure out what they're thinking. Okay. And you can also call out the bullshit. You be like, I think you're bullshit. Mitchell, are you married? No, I'm not. All right. I don't know who wrote this, but I put DC. So anyways, when we are certain, so someone named DC wrote this, okay? I just quoted. When we are certain that we are right, it is essential to ease people into our point of view gently. To just let them know gently. Hey, this is what I think, this is what I believe, and if they want to listen, great. And if they don't, it's okay. Because you're not going to force nobody. You're not going to force nobody. But guess what? If you're confident with yourself and you're successful within yourself, and you're gonna go that direction regardless, well, guess what? And not only are you confident, you're fun, you're easygoing, you listen to her, you date and you court her, she's gonna want to follow your leadership as a guy. She's not gonna. Why would she choose somebody else? A human. Okay, can't force anyone to do anything. Absolutely not. All right. So you can't force an opinion. You don't try to change someone's views by force. The only way someone is willing to change is if they make a conscious choice. Like, it has to be their own choice. Yes, a woman wants a man who is going to be a leader of themselves. Hello, France. So, like I said earlier, you want to start by asking questions. Like, what are some questions? So, whatever you're trying to prove to that person, well, ask them questions. What do you like? Okay, so for example, they're eating unhealthy. They want to lose weight. You'd be like, well, things could get broken down to a science, but that's pretty boring. I don't want to bore you with science. It's like, what do you enjoy doing? What do you enjoy? Like, there's ways to figure out what people do. Like, so for me, I'm a personal trainer as well. So when people tell me they like eating certain things, and I'm like, okay, what's your breakfast, lunch, dinner look like? That's me asking questions. I'm trying to figure out. So what's your breakfast, lunch, dinner looking like? Oh, okay. It looks like that. Okay. So if you're telling me you eat like this, a week goes by and you gain X amount of pounds, I'm like, something's not right. Some things you're not telling me. There's not something you want to lie to me about. So start taking photos. Like, those are examples. And if you're trying to get to know somebody, you want to ask them the same thing. Quality questions so that you could understand them. But it's just like, what do you want? What are you going for? What is your goal? Anyways, I have to go. See you guys later. Thanks, Mitch. All right, Tracy. Okay, once you show that you have leadership, the woman will follow. Absolutely. We will let go of that control. Men are supposed to be the one that leads the family, but if a man is going downhill, he will take her with him. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like, well, guys get mad. They'd be like, well, why do we have to be the leaders? I was like, well, you don't have to. You could be the guy that you could be lonely. You could have a sex change. You could do a lot of things. Like, you don't have to have a woman in your life. You don't have to have a feminine woman. Or maybe you could like use your words and, be aggressive, and maybe you could scare her, but eventually that's not love. That's not love. What are you gonna do? So you have to learn. You got to fill in your knowledge gaps. Finally, someone that's doing something else. All right, so moving on. So questions are great ways to help the other person see from your perspective, but by allowing them to make the choice on their own. Ultimately, it's their own choice. So this can lead to better outcomes and improve relationships. So if there's certain things, especially if you're a guy in a relationship, you're a man in the relationship, or maybe you're not a man, maybe you're in a gay lesbian relationship, doesn't matter. If you're the masculine figure in that relationship, you're supposed to be the leader of the relationship. Well, what do leaders do? They lead. How do you lead? Well, ask quality questions. What are some quality questions? Oh, well, guess what? What's on your mind? I don't want to talk about it. I'm here. Like, what's going on? What's really bothering you? Like, talk to me. You always feel a little bit better when you talk to me. So, and then you put down everything away and you sit down, you listen. That's what you could show, because women solve a lot of their problems by talking about things. Men, we like to solve problems by trying to fix it. You see how those two things don't work together? Because we're trying to solve your problem versus she's venting to you. So how do you solve that problem? By understanding what she speaks, her language, and her language is by talking and talk, yappity yap. Let her talk and listen. And then by asking questions like, hey, like, so that's how it made you feel when I did this. And then so you could reassure her that you're listening. All right. So quality of your life is in direct proportions to the quality of the questions that you consistently ask yourself and to other people. Ask quality questions. So what was it? A man convinced against his will is the same opinion still, meaning that you're not changing his mind. You're not changing anyone's mind. Okay. DC wrote this. So you haven't convinced anything or anyone besides irritate them. Okay, one approach I find very effective is if it's their idea, right? If it's not, I'm not gonna really waste my time. It's just like there's no different than if people come up or they come into this live chat or whatever and they question what I teach. Or maybe it's out of curiosity, but maybe they're questioning me. Hey, you never been married. You haven't been like in a 14, 15 year relationship, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on, right? What are your certifications? It's like, oh, and then some people that, especially the ones that usually kind of get upset, they call you Mr. White Knight, that you don't really know. And I'm like, look, you don't have to listen to me. There's millions of other channels that you could follow. Like you could, if you're that upset, and if you want to feel that, go listen to some red pill community stuff. By listening to them, you would definitely get a lot of people on your side, but it's not going to really solve a lot of your problems. It's more than likely it's going to make you hate women. And if you hate women but you still want to be with them, that's not a really good recipe, is it? So it's like, all right, well, how are you going to have a good quality woman if you're a piece of shit yourself? So it's like, well, two pieces of shit does not make a good dish, you know? So it's a philosophy. If people want to listen, they will. And if they don't, they don't have to, right? By yielding, you get more. Okay? It means not a good combo. All right. So empty victories. So learn to be happy with what you have while pursue all that you want. So it's whatever you have. Just be excited about it. And it's maybe you don't have a lot right now, and that's okay, because we all, like, if you don't have a lot right now, you still have ways to work through it, and you could still build up who you are. So maybe your body's not exactly where you want it to be physically. Maybe you want to be a little bit stronger or anything like that. Or maybe you want your bank account to go up a little bit. Maybe you're just not emotionally regulated. Maybe you're easily flustered, easily bothered. Like, all those things is going to affect you and your relationship, because I definitely know somebody that I no longer will talk to just because of how emotionally unstable they are. It's like, look, it's cool when things are great. It's cool when it's great, but it's terrible. Holy shit, it's terrible when it's bad. Like, just the slightest little thing that bothers them, it's like, oh shit, it's the end of the world again. It's like, could you imagine you in a relationship with somebody and you wake up next to that person every single day, and you're kind of like, well, my day is kind of dependent on how this person reacts, because if this person's not in a good mood, my day's kind of ruined. That's a pretty shitty relationship, right? So thank you, Unknown. Appreciate you. So now, you may argue, you may give facts, you may give statistics, numbers, whatever, you name it, etc., right? You might win the argument, but you'll only receive empty victories, and you will never get your opponent's goodwill. So in this case, your lover, maybe your partner, whoever it may be, your coworker, whatever, right? Family members, right? If your point is right, You gently lead them. If this is what you believe, you gently lead them into what you think is the right choice, and see if they could see it from your perspective. But how can you allow them to see it from your perspective? By asking questions. It's like there was an example of, there was two weathers, right? There was a sun and there was a cloud. No, there was a wind and some clouds, right? And then, they both made a bet with each other. They was like, you see that guy down there? I'm gonna make whoever gets that person's jacket to come off first wins. So, the sun was like, all right, you go first. So the wind was blowing as hard as it can, and guess what? The more forceful that wind was, the tighter the jacket. Now the sun, he was like, you know what? I'm just gonna chill. So it's his turn now. He's like, I'm just gonna chill. I'm gonna slowly turn up the temperature just a little bit at a time. And just by that, whoever that was in the desert, I'm sorry, whoever that was in the desert, right? Even though it's some made up thing, that person was like, you know what? It's getting hot. It's willingly. And it's like, it's their choice. And if it's their choice, you don't have to worry about you ever being turned down. If it's her choice to want to come to you, you're not gonna get rejected unless you say or do something really stupid. What's up? All right, so you gently lead them to your point. See if they could see it from your perspective, right? Life isn't just about what you think. Being right is one thing, but winning the heart of others will get you much further. So if you're wrong if you're wrong, admit it. You'd be like, damn, I didn't see it from your perspective. Damn, I think I'm wrong. Let me kind of look into that. And if you're wrong, apologize. Quickly apologize. You'd be like, hey, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. And I apologize. I'd like to make it up to you. Right? Now, a quote by Carl Jung was, thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge. Thinking is difficult. That's why a lot of people that come in here and they say a lot of things, I'm like, dude, you're not really thinking. So unless you have something that's at least could kind of challenge my thoughts, at the very least, try to provoke that instead of trying to come at me. Learn to come at me at a different angle so that I could maybe see it from your perspective, right? Now, most people yell in arguments because they're fearful of one thing. And that's usually, maybe they're fearful of being wrong, or maybe fearful of, hey, you know what? I don't have a lot of control in my life. And if I can't control you, I'm going to raise my voice so that I could feel like I have more in control. But we all know that one thing is, control is an illusion. It's not real. The only thing you have control over is yourself. Only thing you got control over is yourself. That's the only thing. So your own behaviors, how you act, all those things that you could do to improve your skills so that you could be your most attractive self. And the most important thing is emotional regulation. Yes, you still got to take care of, us as guys though, this is one thing I do have to admit, okay? Us as guys, masculine men, we have a lot to work on. Not only do we have to build our physical strength, we need emotional strength. And then we have to know ourselves. We have to understand, what do we want? Which direction do we want? How are we going to get there? Are we going to stop? It's what's failure and what's a setback, right? Those are the examples. And the difference between a failure and a setback is, if you fail and you do it again, that's a setback. But if you fail, it means you just stopped. You're a failure. You're a failure when you stop. It's a setback when you just do it again. Just do it again. Setback, right? So now, people that yell in arguments, they need control. They lack control over themselves. Now, by allowing them to come and go as they please, you let go of a lot of unwanted behaviors. Number one, being too desperate. No one wants someone as being too desperate. It's like, hey, who in here ever was excited about someone that's desperate for them? Oh my God, I can't wait. It's very unattractive, right? So Whatever you're upset about, we project what we feel on the outside to how we genuinely feel about ourselves on the inside. So be careful. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. It's like, hey, you know what? Sometimes you just gotta allow them to come and go. It's like, if it's their choice, they're not going to want to lose you. It's like, if you're a person of quality and you're working on yourself, it's like you're going to make a difference. You're going to make a difference. All right. What if they don't see your value? Well, guess what? True value, like people that know, it's like this. If you walked in, maybe here's a Pokemon card, for example, right? If you walked in, right? I'm just gonna hold this, right? If I walked in and I was like, hey, I'm gonna sell you this Charizard, and they'd be like, man, I give you $10. I'd be like, nah, it's cool. Nah, like I could probably get maybe like 60, 70 for this. If you know your value, you're not gonna be upset. You'd be like, nah, that's too low. But hey, you know what? That's almost disrespectful. But hey, maybe you don't know. I can't sell it for $10. Then you walk away with it. You're not gonna sell it right there and then unless you're desperate. So now, moving on. So, what does it say about you? What does it say about your relationship you have with yourself and with others around you, right? It shows that now by allowing things to come naturally, letting things come and go as they please, while voicing what your wants and able enough to walk away from those that don't agree with your terms that you voice. So that is the greatest negotiating position. It's like, just think of it as a negotiating position. You just have to let them know exactly what you want. If they ask you, right? It's like, hey, the perfect example is usually what 75% of women are the one that initiate the breakups or divorces. And it's like, well, they want a divorce, they want to break up. And if that's the case, it'd be like, okay, what's on your mind? What's bothering you? Like, what? Instead of being so stifled and perturbed and bothered, it's like, well, yeah, wait, hold on. This came kind of out of nowhere. Like, what's going on? What's on your mind? What's bothering you? And if she's felt like that, she felt like that for a very long time. So it just didn't come out of nowhere, right? Maybe it just came out of nowhere for you as a surprise. Like, damn. And, you know, a lot of guys, they like to justify like, damn, this is that one thing that caused her to break up with me. I was like, no, it's not. You've done a lot of unattractive things consistently, and you just didn't, you didn't see it. You overlooked it. You thought it was cool to just hang out with your boys all the time and not call back. And you left her alone. You don't respond to her. You don't date her. She doesn't feel heard. She doesn't feel loved. She doesn't feel like you care enough about her. And that's what caused her to be like, damn. Now, is it right that she spoke to another guy? Absolutely not. But that's her judge of character, right? And that's probably someone you don't want to be around with anyways. Anything that goes wrong, she's gonna be like, well, who's next? Who's gonna listen to me? That's not someone that you want. You want someone with good character. Hey, you know, you're not giving me enough attention. It's bothering me. I feel like you don't even care about this relationship. And if she voices that, and if you don't fix that, well, guess what? She's gonna be like, well, I'm gonna eventually leave. And then when that does happen, don't be surprised. Now, that's the right thing to do. Does that always happen? Mostly not. But it's us as guys to understand that you have to always judge your ladies, your woman's level of interest based off how she feel about you, because then you could kind of judge that interest. It's like, okay, and it's always better to go slightly lower than what you think. Oh my God, she loves me. Okay, well, you know what? Love hovers around a 9 and a 10. Maybe you're in an 8, maybe a 7. Just go under that. So then you don't overlook it. You know what I mean? You don't think like, hey, I'm locked in. She loves me. There's always something to improve on. All right. So that being said, that is the show. I'm gonna talk about the summary, which is strength versus weaknesses. So you can start by asking questions. Those are great ways to help the other person from seeing it from your perspective, by allowing them to make choices on their own. It's like, hey, what do you think? How about this? How do you feel about this? Does that sound okay? If it's their choice, you're not gonna get a no. Okay. So empty victories. Most people yell and scream in arguments. It's usually because they're fearful and they don't have any control over themselves. And by allowing them to come and go, you let go of a lot of unwanted behaviors, like being too desperate and things like that. Now, that is the end of the show. I hope you guys enjoyed my express session. I do this every Sunday at 5:30. And if you guys do enjoy this video, please hit a like, subscribe, let your friends know about it, let your family, friends, everybody. And I catch you guys on the next one. All right. See you, Bree. Thank you. All right.